Even with no Nintendo Direct in sight, there's still plenty to talk about when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2. As there have been multiple news stories recently, there are actually truly great news for all of us. So before we get into them, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell. Now then, let's begin with the most recent thing that made Switch 2 owners very happy. That being the massive firmware update version 22.00, which offered far more than just the typical general system stability improvements. Jokes aside, it introduced a new feature called Handheld Mode Boost, which essentially makes backwards compatible Switch 1 games run as if they were in docked mode in Switch 2's handheld mode. Meaning that basically, most Switch 1 games now run at 1080p to match the Switch 2's screen resolution. That's right, no more blurry Switch 1 games, or at least not as blurry. And we didn't have to wait for long when it comes to comparisons, as the differences are staggering. And that is to say the least. But with that said, there are some caveats to this mode. For one, it drains the battery life a bit faster. But then again, Switch 1 games won't drain the battery nearly as fast as Switch 2 games do. But with that said, Switch 1 games that don't have paid Switch 2 editions or upgrades will now look better than ever when played on handheld. And that includes The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which now works great with this new boost, taking full advantage of the full HD display. The same goes for Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom if you decided to not buy the Switch 2 edition upgrade. When similar upgrades for Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom are free. But at least now Skyward Sword HD is more enjoyable in undocked mode. Final drawback to this new mode is that touchscreen features are unavailable, as the console thinks these games are running in docked mode. So games like Super Mario Maker 2 will in this mode be stuck with button controls.
Man, if only there was a console that let us use a touchscreen while playing on the TV. Thankfully, this goes the other way around for some games too, as the brightness slider in Luigi's Mansion 3 wasn't always available in portable mode, but with this feature, it is on Switch 2. So yes, the good far outweighs the bad with the handheld mode boost. But if you're someone who really cares about touchscreen controls, it can always be turned off, which is very nice. We've seen some great examples of this mode in action, like with The Witcher 3 and all of the Xenoblade games, both of which frankly looked hideous before this update. That said, the handheld boost mode shouldn't be a replacement for proper Switch 2 editions and patches, and even though Witcher 3 and the Xenoblade Chronicles games look better in handheld mode now, they are still in dire need of Switch 2 upgrades to enhance their visuals and frame rate. Yes, we already got one with Xenoblade Chronicles X, but the other three are in desperate need of one. Even still, the handheld boost mode is a great and necessary update for Switch 2, and it isn't something we saw Nintendo doing for a long time, if at all. This firmware update also includes adjustments to the system's airplane mode, allowing users to toggle Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or NFC from the quick menu. I'm sure the guy from the 2016 Switch 1 reveal trailer is happy about this. Also, this trailer is going to be 10 years old this October, and my back hurts just thinking about it. There is also a new flow animation for the virtual game cards, and it looks pretty nice, albeit insignificant. If you want to read about everything that's in this firmware update, check out the page on Nintendo's support site.
Moving on, have you noticed that it's been harder than usual to buy a Switch 2 lately? Well, that's because of an unlikely system seller. Not Mario Kart World, not Donkey Kong Bonanza, not even Pokemon Legends ZA. But we're close. Pokopia, the game that might be the biggest sleeper hit of 2026. Although in hindsight, we should have expected a Pokemon life sim in the vein of Animal Crossing and Dragon Quest builders to sell well. And it did, as Nintendo and the Pokemon Company recently announced that the game had surpassed 2.2 million copies in its first 4 days. With 1 million of those sales coming from Japan alone. Yes, this game is massive in its home country. And with it, Forbes could report that Nintendo's shares rallied almost 20% the week after the game's release. Needless to say, I'm not too happy that I had the flu for more than the first 2 weeks of March and couldn't review the game. Though, why is this Pokopia spin-off so popular, you may ask? A big part is the fact that Pokopia immediately became the highest rated Pokemon game ever on Metacritic. Sure, it's not a mainline Pokemon game, but it is a Pokemon game through and through, but with an art style that is far more consistent than we have seen in recent Pokemon releases. And it also helps that the Metacritic score was close to 90, as that is a score which in the case of Pokemon is impossible to ignore. Just like word of mouth, which the game had a ton of, and a massive marketing campaign.
It influenced me to buy the game, and that's saying something, since I previously had no interest in it. And because it's a Switch 2 exclusive, naturally more Switch 2s are being sold because of it. While there are no concrete numbers on those sales just yet, we've seen multiple posts on Twitter showing stores that used to consistently have Switch 2s in stock no longer do. While Pokemon is still the most popular media franchise of all time, a successful spin-off game like Pokopia is unprecedented. And it's for good reason, as the game is legitimately good. Reminds me of how well Animal Crossing New Horizons did when it launched back in 2020. Though there were admittedly other factors that helped it do so well. Another and worse type of flu, being stuck indoors, and well, a bigger system install base 3 years into the Switch's life cycle. Both 2020 and 2026 are crazy times. Let's hope that Pokopia is just the beginning for quality Switch 2 exclusive Pokemon games, both new and old. Fingers crossed for proper Gen 5 Black and White remakes by the end of this decade. For now, not only did we get Fire Red and Leaf Green, but the GameCube NSO library just received Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness this week. Pokemon fans are feasting with many great titles to play on Switch 2, and if Winds and Waves comes out disappointing next year after the critically acclaimed Pokopia, then that would simply be a terrible fate. On to the next story, as Elden Ring Tarnished Edition was playable to some folks at GDC. It's me, I'm Folks. Yeah, I played this demo at a Nintendo Switch 2 partner preview event, and while I didn't get any footage of it myself, GameSpot played the exact same demo in handheld mode, and as you can see, it looks so much better than it did at other gaming events last year, where it just wasn't running well. And you need a game like Elden Ring to run at a stable frame rate. From what I've played, it was a mostly stable 30 frames per second, maybe with some minor dips here and there, but this was still an in-progress build, and the performance was not a hindrance for me at all. Yes, I know it's a bummer that it's not 60, but you gotta take what you can get with a massive open-world game like Elden Ring on a portable system like Switch 2. I beat Elden Ring back in 2022 on PS5, and from what I can tell, the Switch 2 version might be where I replay it, as well as the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, which is included with the Tarnished Edition.
It's a relief knowing that From Software gave this port extra time to cook as a result of the lackluster demos, and it gives us more faith in the Duskbloods, hopefully still releasing this year, and running just as well, if not better, than Elden Ring on Switch 2. If for some reason you haven't bought a Nintendo Switch 2 yet, now would be the best time to do it, as units are being sold faster thanks to Pokopia, and the unfortunate increase in RAM prices thanks to generative AI platforms hints towards something we don't really want. Sadly, not even video games are safe from this garbage, as seen with Nvidia's new DLSS 5, which turned PC games into AI slop. Absolutely, get this out of my face. Bloomberg even reported last month that Nintendo is contemplating raising the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. And it is very likely that it ties to higher RAM prices, slop AI, but also overall increasing prices. So now is the time to act fast and pick up a Nintendo Switch 2 with a copy of Pokopia for good measure, or just buy it digitally since it is a game card anyway. But it is a game keycard that is actually worth the price of a game that deserved to be physical. Finally, we just have to ask, when will Nintendo finally reveal their own games in 2026? The usual February or even early March Direct did not happen this year. Instead, we have had a Partner Direct, Pokemon Presents, Indie World, and no less than 2 Super Mario Galaxy movie directs. This raises the question, will Nintendo pull a fast one on us like they did last year and air a Direct in the last week of March? Or will they take an unprecedented break from general directs until the next fiscal year, starting in April, or perhaps even go all the way to June?
It's hard to predict Nintendo, but they could possibly get away with no Direct until June, as their game library for the first half of the year has already been solidified. Tomodachi Life next month, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book the month after that, and a healthy supply of third-party games in between, such as Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We could just enjoy what we're getting until a general Direct this summer, but we would also love to be wrong and be surprised with it next week. Only time will tell. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this Switch 2 news update until the very end. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe, and press that notification bell to stay updated on all things Switch 2 here on the Commonwealth Realm. We'd also like to thank our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons. Special thanks go to Royal Producer Jonathan and Heroes Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf, and Kintaro. You all rock, and please enjoy these awesome videos.